Hey everyone, this is Vicky from Vivid Talks. Today I'm bringing on a very special guest and a dear friend, a musician, Sean XG, who has self-taught himself over 20 different musical instruments. He's performed at a lot of different live performances around the world, such as the Winsphere Center, as well as the Chicago Symphony Hall. And he's also produced music for movies and films. I want to share his journey of how he started off as a 16-year-old boy who's super passionate about music to someone who's produced music for around the world. So, hi Sean, can you introduce yourself and let everyone know what kind of creator you are?
Hi everyone, my name is Sean. I do a lot of things within the sphere of music. The main job right now is a composer. Because I write, I also arrange music. I have also produced music as well. And then aside from that, I guess you would call it an independent artist. I'm actually a music teacher as well. Everything about the world of audio, it interests me. So
I can see that you have a really cool setup with all of your instruments in the background. That's crazy amazing. You play so many different instruments.
true and not true. I like dabbling with a lot of different instruments just so that I don't anger the other instrumentalists out there who may try to check up on how valid my instrumental skills are. I will say that, for a lot of the instruments, I wouldn't say that I am performable with the instruments. If I was to hold a concert and I was to play solo saxophones or something like that, I don't think I would be able to hold a match to maybe even a high school student. I do it primarily for the sake of recording. When everything's digital, you can have as many takes as you want. When it comes to instruments that I am performable in, that's definitely going to be the guitar. As you can see, I have lots. String instruments are my specialty. I was a band geek. I played the trumpet as well, starting from grade 7. A lot of wind instruments as well. I managed to be able to do it. I'm a music teacher, so I have to know a lot of wind instruments in general.
When did you start dabbling into music?
Quite a while ago at the age of 13. So unlike a lot of stereotypical Asian kids, I wasn't forced to play piano or play violin. I was never classically trained at all. It was a Christmas day. I will never forget. My dad took me to a music store. He decided that he was going to buy me an acoustic guitar. He saw that I had an inkling of an interest in guitars. It just seemed cool to me at the time. And I was wondering why, actually. And he said it's because you play too much video games, which I was. which I was.
Makes sense, yeah.
It was his way of trying to find me a hobby, essentially. I did a very stereotypical guitarist thing where you start off, you get an acoustic guitar, you get a book. It was one of those Hal Leonard's beginner's guitar book. I learned about 3 pages in, and then for some reason I just found it very intoxicating. It just gave me a lot of sense of success. I didn't really understand what it was. I just couldn't put it down for some reason. Being a teenager, it's very easy to get obsessed with things, and then so it just so happened to be that it was the guitar. Things just kind of snowballed from there. At that time, I was also starting off band, started playing the trumpet, and I just loved the guitar more than the trumpet, but I still played them at the same time. A sense of accomplishment with the instrument just drove me further and further, started exploring more things into the world of music. Eventually, I actually self-taught myself the piano as well. It was a hot thing to do.
Hot thing to do?
It's Yuruma's River Flows in You and Kiss in the Rain. There'll be guys in my class who are trained in piano. They start playing that and every single girl around them would be like, ah!
Oh, so it's for picking up girls.
Not 100%, but I think to a certain percentage, both the guitar and the piano, I picked it up
Pick up girls.
As a young boy, yes.
As a young boy. Oh, I see. Because it was just kind of a hobby, a trending thing for you to do back in school. So what got you to continue pursuing it after you graduated high school?
Well, YouTube became a thing. Back in the days, YouTube used to have a star rating system rather than the like or dislike button. That was when I started YouTube. When I played the guitar for other people, they seemed very drawn to it. They gave me compliments. And I think as somebody who was a bit deprived of encouragement and compliments as a kid, I think that really was intoxicating for me. I was playing too much video games. And I think for the first time in my life, I felt like I'm actually doing something that's worthwhile.
Video games are worthwhile too.
Games are very worthwhile for sure. But then, real things, that's more real and concrete, right? There's something to that social validation that was just very intoxicating for me. I wanted to get better at it. I wanted to get better at the guitar. I saw YouTube as a more global platform. I started to post videos of me playing guitar up on YouTube. Nobody realized at the time that you could get famous off of YouTube, especially that early back in the day. I saw YouTube more as a social platform rather than a media platform. I posted my videos up on there to hopefully try and improve my guitar skills. I didn't know if I was doing it right or wrong. I wanted real critiques from people from around the world. And instead, what I got was like a lot of comments about like, oh wow, like that was really good. And then that was even more intoxicating to me. I was like, wow, I decided to keep going because of that support. You probably know that as well, is that you just build up a kind of a fan base, right?
Following and yeah.
For a 15, 16-year-old boy, that's one of the coolest things. People all of a sudden, like you were nobody, hundreds and then thousands of people all of a sudden start following you. That craziest thing. You never could have imagined that. Part of it was those fans and part of it was feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. It proved to a lot of people in my life who kind of doubted me, who kind of doubted that I would ever amount to anything. To me, in my mind, at least, it proved them wrong.
I'm glad you are doing what you are doing now, because whenever I listen to your music, I get like the goosebumps, I get the chills running up my arms. I'm just like, wow. The first time I listened to you play with your orchestra at Animathon, first song, I think it was like the Pokemon Orchestra, and I was just like getting so like teary, sitting at the front row, just absorbing and soaking all of this live music in. There's definitely something different, you know, when you listen to live music versus like a recorded session, right? Your music's really powerful. It's impacted me. So that's why I love listening to you and your success stories.
Thank you so much. That genuinely means a lot. It's support and like encouragement like that is probably what I would say the best thing about me doing music. Having this opportunity and now opening up my life to people from around the world and people from different professions. In terms of just life enrichment, I couldn't ask for anything better.
You said you spent a lot of time on YouTube building out your branding and your reach, but you also did some like live performances too, right? Can you kind of elaborate more about that?
I have to thank a lot of my school teachers because, you know, before I started doing live things, I was given opportunities within my junior high and high school to perform my instrument live. It gave me a platform to actually start to get used to playing live because obviously the first time you do everything, you're absolutely terrible at it. I remember the first ever time I ever played that thing live. My hands were shaking so terribly. Every single note that I hit was like probably like a 60% accuracy. Just the nerves just hit you so badly. A lot of people ask me, it's like, what's the cure to stage fright? I was like, there's no cure. You just have to keep doing it, keep failing or keep being nervous and have your heart try to pump out of your chest. You know, that's what I get. You know, when I'm nervous, every single heartbeat is like shaking my entire body, right? I was really grateful to my teachers for letting me make all those mistakes within school because then my first real gig was with a metal band. I know.
Metal band. That's okay. That was the cool thing.
Eventually, after 2 years of playing the acoustic guitar, I flew to an electric guitar. To me, it was just cooler. I joined the metal band, you know, because at the time when you're playing electric guitar, that was just the thing. You played Metallica, you played Iron Maiden. I had great bandmates because, you know, we had this kind of camaraderie. You work together, you fail together, you play together, that kind of a thing. It felt less, I guess, nerve-wracking. So that was locally. And then eventually it built up from there. I got to play in other countries.
Wow.
Other parts nationally, a few different parts in the United States as well. How the heck did that happen? Things in life just happen randomly. The more that I played live, the more I'm able to feel like myself. Because I feel like that's when I do live shows, it's almost like what I live for. The audience interactions, being in the moment, just playing music for the sake of it. I think you will probably agree because we've done live shows actually.
Yeah, we've done live shows together. Yeah.
You know, when you're live, especially when you're not used to doing music live, you're thinking about all the technical things. You're thinking about, oh, I need to hit this note at this part, can't pull out this technique at this part. I'm fortunate to have done enough live shows to the point where it's given me the confidence to not worry about that and to just think about the music in general when I do it. Just have fun doing it. Two cool places I got to play live. Locally, we have the Edmonton Winspear. I believe it's one of the greatest sounding concert halls in the world, actually.
Oh, really?
We're actually very spoiled because of it.
I didn't know that.
Acoustically by a Dutch guy, actually, and the acoustics are actually incredibly good. I got to play electric guitar in front of an entire orchestra. Probably one of the coolest things. And the other one was actually I got to play at Chicago Symphony Hall.
Wow.
That's like a symphony hall that's over like however many hundreds of years old.
So what instrument were you playing at the Chicago Symphony Hall?
I was playing double bass, actually. I was also playing with an orchestra as well.
Congrats! That's so cool.
I know, yeah. That's the one thing when I look back on it, I have a hard time being humble. You can't be like, oh, that's nothing. It's not nothing.
It is something, right? Yeah.
I'm playing in this well-known, internationally revered concert hall, and I'm just like, how did I get here? That being said, though, if you're talking about live performances, the musician career is very, very interesting because literally when I came back from playing the Chicago Symphony Hall, I came back and I was playing at a bar in front of 4 people here in Edmonton. So you go from one end of the spectrum, you're literally on the other end, right?
Right. They're all different experience though, right? You also like write a lot of music too. Like, is there a current project you're working on right now?
There is a current project. Unfortunately, I don't think I get to share it.
Oh.
It's an interesting project, I'll say for sure. I think it kind of has to do with actually our realm of work.
Oh, the nerdy realm. Okay, I'm really interested about that.
No, I can be a little bit more specific about that. It's the weeby
The weeby
realm.
realm. Okay, okay, got it.
Taking whatever time that I can find, for the longest time, I was actually focusing on, other careers and other projects and things like that. That wasn't my own. What I really wanted was to actually write my own music from literally nothing, say things that are inspired by my own life. So that's basically what I'm working on, but it's a slow
Right.
slog. So yeah.
So can you explain to us like when you're creating like a new piece like that you're making on your own, like what's your workflow or your process for doing that?
It really varies. I consider things that I write for, the TV shows, the short films and things like that. I consider that to be my own songs as well. I really, really liked a lot of them because I think the way that it came about was so organic. For example, like for films, we start off with a story, right? We start off talking about, what the story of it is, and then I get inspired by that. It's a very Jackie Chan inspired comedy action kind of thing. And I'll be like, oh, that's really great. And then I go back and I watch my favorite Jackie Chan,
You're right.
movies.
Yeah.
I get inspired by the kind of music that it has. There's an original song coming out pretty soon of mine called Midnight State of Mind. It's kind of a very organic acoustic guitar piece that I wrote literally in the night. Wrote it, I recorded it all in the night because
Wow.
something came over me. I don't know what it was, and I just couldn't stop writing it. I think I stayed up all the way till like 3 or 4 a.m. to finish doing it. If I go to sleep, literally, I'm going to wake up the next morning. I'm going to forget all of this.
You're in like your artist vibe. You don't want to like, wreck that moment, right?
It started off literally around midnight. That's why I said it's called Midnight State of Mind. It was actually a time where I was struggling with a lot of things about life. I was having a bit of an identity crisis, both musically and personally, what I wanted to do with my life. Because guitar is my most competent instrument, I guess I was able to kind of express that a bit better. But I just started off as like, and I was like, that's a nice sounding chord. And then I was like, well, what can I do with that? And then it just kind of kept going from there. And I was like, wow, like, I like that. How do I keep going with it? I was literally in that kind of a vibe. I got other instruments around the house. I have a trumpet, I have trombones, I have French horns, I have flutes, I have clarinets. I'm a very curious person overall. So I'll just take them out. I'll try them out. I play something that gives me an idea and then I'll be like, oh, wow, that's cool. And now write it out. And then you just develop it even further, right? This is why I have my setup like this.
Oh, yeah?
Sometimes I just like to dabble on the piano. I'll just make up things. So I don't know, like. That's a bit cheesy. That sounds like something that should belong in a Asian drama or something like that. If it feels like it needs a beat, I boot up my recording program. I boot a Cubase immediately and then I start recording. What I do next, I have no idea.
It just kind of comes with like whatever creative vibes you have, right?
It all comes in the moment. As someone who, went to music school and have learned a lot of theories and things like that, I sure as heck don't use that a lot when it comes to my composition. I try not to rely on it. Theory is great and all, but I feel like if I 100% rely on theory to write something, it sounds too stiff.
You want to come from the heart so that it's whatever you're feeling and not really hindered by a lot of the rules, right?
I'm a very feely type of person.
Above your piano, is that like a Chinese zither?
It's a Chinese zither, exactly. You got it right. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah!
Chinese zither is called like the guzheng. I like to call it one of the easiest instruments to make stuff up on. For those of you who are musically educated, it's tuned to the pentatonic scales. So it's literally all black keys on the pianos. You can make whatever up. Like I'm just gonna play some rap. Like I'm not gonna look.
What would you say would be your biggest challenge as a musician?
I think I had a huge confidence problem when it came to the type of music that I write. My musical taste has been primarily shaped by pop music that it's very easy to find. Type of music that you learn in music school or you talk about in music school aren't always pop music. Most of the time, it'll be a jazz music school. They call themselves contemporary music school, but then you primarily do jazz things. And then another type of music school that you would go to are primarily a classical music school.
Right.
And so pop really isn't in the equation. And it was a bit sad for me because I think it touches a lot of people. It has a lot of potential. If you go to those kind of music schools, to no fault of the institution, but I had a huge problem with believing that what I wrote sounded good because jazz is very complex. Classical music is very complex, very rich in harmony. Music institutions can make you believe that if you're not making music that's like that, then you're making trash pretty much.
Oh no.
If your music consisted of 4 chords, then you gotta have a lot more complexity to it. Sometimes your music just needs 2 chords, maybe even 1 chord from time to time, and then it can be a great song. When we looked at examples of great music, we always looked at jazz music or classical music. That's kind of what we go to for great music, like great written music. For the longest time, I would be like, no, I gotta make this a lot more complex. And usually it always made it sound not worse, but just not how I wanted to express it. I had a hard time getting over that mindset. And there was a bit of ego involved in that as well. I didn't feel like myself, but I feel like myself wasn't good enough. I think just recently I'm able to kind of acknowledge that no matter what you learn in your artistic journey, those are just things that you can put into your library. That doesn't mean that you always have to use all of them, right? It's like a DJ. You just take the stuff that you like. If you like it, then you like it. If you don't, then you don't. It's not what other people think.
Music is like highly subjective, so it's really hard to teach it a specific way. Yeah.
It's your opinion then, right?
There's no right or wrong answer.
So you have to stand tall with your opinion, right?
How do you do the recording part and actually like the production of the piece? Do you do it like digitally, like you record the sound and you piece things together on your computer?
Yeah, I do things digitally for sure. I have a great memory for music. I can remember lyrics. I can't sing very well, but I somehow memorize lyrics a lot better than a lot of my vocalist counterparts.
Oh.
And I remember like notes, especially if it's short-term memory. I memorize almost all of it very, very well and all the intricacies of it. I would dabble on the piano. And if I feel like it sounds good, my computer's right here. I fire up my digital audio workstation. I just immediately lay it down. And then once I lay it down, at least I have something like that's the original idea, right? Whenever I feel more inspired to take that a little bit more further, then I go back to it and I work on it. I feel like other instruments need to be in there. This is kind of why my home setup is kind of like this. So I can grab that bass if I feel like there needs to be a bass in there. And then in the closet is the mess of all the wind instruments. If it's really something that's just like in my head and I feel like it takes too long to kind of get the idea out, I actually just take my phone and I do a low voice memo. I sing into it, but like a melody or like a little idea or something like that. Going back to the whole composition thing, sometimes I actually hear a song and I feel like I do the thing where it's like, oh, you idiot, you should have written that song.
Oh.
It was a new song that just came out. How can I take the song and kind of be inspired by it? And how do I make that my own? There's a bit of a saying with composers is that good composers create, great composers steal.
Oh, really?
As long as it doesn't violate copyright laws.
Right. Well, yeah, because I guess music, you can't really copyright it unless it's like the exact song, right?
There's a few things you can't copyright. I believe you can't copyright a drum beat. You can't copyright the chord progression. There's a few things you can copyright, but there's actually many things that you cannot.
That's good to know. So what would be one piece of advice you would give someone that's aspiring to be a musician or to write their own music?
Number one is you don't know a lot of things, and that's great. It keeps you humble and it keeps you improving a lot faster. I think at least that's what I feel is what helped me, because I still feel at this point that I don't know anything. I'm at the mercy of my brain. So that's actually played to my advantage, because then it makes me go out and actively get materials, look at different songs to try and make this project better. I think it's good to maybe keep your expectations low and always think you're terrible.
Stay humble and you can keep learning, right?
Number two is do what you feel is right, unapologetically. I like writing music for as many people as possible. There's a great clinic by John Mayer that he gives at Berkeley in 2008. It's up on YouTube. I think every single musician needs to watch it. It's one of the best clinics I've ever heard. If you want to be a pop star, if you want to write pop music, it's not a dirty word. You know, it just means that you're writing music for as many people as possible. Just say you want to be a pop star. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to be indie, you know. If you're going to write music for yourself, yeah, do that, right? But, at the same time, you have to think about what the game of that is, right? And number three is that when the going gets rough, just remember this loser.
Aw.
I used to be the Asian kid with the buzz cut and the sweater vest. I had no musical talent, absolutely none. I think at one point I said I hated music.
Oh, wow.
Imagine turning from that kid to playing in the Wind Spirit in the Chicago Symphony Hall and being able to compose music for films, movies, get noticed by famous composers, and being able to perform around the world and get to meet cool people because of those opportunities and, getting interviewed right now. Anything can happen. So remember that loser when the going gets tough, right?
You're my favorite loser.
I know. Oh, thank you. I guess if you want to see more, subscribe. And I have a lot of things coming up. Keep your eyes and your ears peeled. And also stay tuned for our project coming up.
I know. We have our project. I think it's going to be done in the beginning of January. If you want to check out Sean's social media and information, just check out the links below. Definitely listen to some of his works and one-man orchestra videos. They're really cool. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And I hope you guys got something out of this and get inspired to pursue whatever passion or dreams that you have. Thanks so much again, Sean.
All your dreams.